Analyzing Literature, Part 1, Language Usage, Figurative Language. Hey guys, Mr. Bjork here with another phenomenal video. Today's video will be kicking off our next unit on analyzing literature and will be about figurative language. I wonder, do you know what figurative language is? Or can you think of any examples? Write down whatever you think figurative language is, or if you know any examples. Remember, I want to know what you know, not what Google knows. Let's start out by talking about exactly what figurative language is, because figurative language, as well as imagery, are used to create vivid pictures in the minds of the readers. Definitionally speaking, figurative language is words and phrases that mean something other than what is literally said or meant. You hear it all the time. It's like when I say, everyone in this class is getting an F. Obviously, everyone in the class is not failing, right? I'm actually being hyperbolic, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Imagery is any description that appeals to the senses. It makes you imagine something, or imagine what it smells like, or tastes like, or looks like, feels like, sounds like. All of those things would be example of imagery. Figurative language comes in all forms, but here are some of the examples of the main types we'll be talking about in this video. First, we have simile, metaphor, personification, and hyperbole. Now, I know all of you guys know what each and every one of these things are already, right? Right? Well, if not, it's okay, because we're going to be talking about them right now. Let's talk briefly about simile, metaphor, personification, and hyperbole. Now, there will be a lot of information on this slide, so don't panic. Just pause the video as you need to and take notes. Some of this stuff you should have already learned in 5th grade or elementary school, perhaps. So, do you remember what a simile is? Well, a simile compares two things using the words like or as. Typically, the two things aren't similar. Like, I ran like the wind to get my bubbles. A metaphor says that one thing is another thing. It's basically a simile, except it doesn't use like or as. Personification is next. Do you know what it is? Well, personification gives animals or objects human characteristics. And yes, Patrick and SpongeBob are both examples of personification. Hyperbole, I mentioned it earlier, is an extreme exaggeration to make a point. Like, if you don't watch this video, you are doomed to fail. A little hyperbolic, obviously. You can still pass if you miss a video, but if you miss all the videos, well, that's a different story. So anyway, let's take a look at an example of figurative language. This is a poem by William J. Smith called The Toaster. Can you find all of the examples of figurative language? I underlined a few of these lines. Some of them contain figurative languages, some of them may not. See if you can figure out which lines contain what figurative language. The Toaster. A silver-scaled dragon with jaws flaming red sits at my elbow and toasts my bread. I hand him fat slices, and then one by one, he hands them back when he sees they are done. So let's look at that first line. Is there figurative language in that line? There is. This line contains figurative language that says, the toaster is a silver-scaled dragon with jaws flaming red. Even though the toaster is not literally a dragon, right? This is a metaphor. How about this line? I underlined this line. but does it contain figurative language? Sits at my elbow and toasts my bread. This line of poem actually uses literal language because the toaster is literally toasting bread. That's really what the toaster does. And then the last line that I have underlined, he hands them back when he sees they are done. What is this figurative language, do you think? Well, this line of poem uses figurative language to give the toaster human qualities. Being able to hand back pieces of toast and being able to see that they are ready. That's an example of personification. There is one last thing that I'd like to talk to you about related to figurative language, and that is tone. Tone is essentially how a work of literature feels. Authors use figurative language to set the tone of literary work. For example, a literary work may have a funny, serious, threatening, or calm tone. Tone is the author's attitude toward a subject. More examples could include a peaceful tone, an energetic tone, determined, fearful, sad, just to name a few. Let's take a look at this example and see if you can figure out what the tone is. As Dina walked slowly across the field, the grass massaged her bare feet with each step she took. Although the sun was at its highest point, the cool breeze brought relief, turning what could have been a hot day into something more pleasant. Is it sad, angry, relaxed, or humorous? Well, if you said relaxed, you'd be right. Anyway, guys, this wraps up this intro to analyzing literature and figurative language. We will be talking about this more in class all this week. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.